Hey everybody, this is Royce here with Gates 3 Designs, and you're listening to Gates 3 Designs, the podcast.
Sorry if I sound a little funny. What if my nostrils is clogged up? You know how that goes. It's been tough, but I'll get through it. Today is the first day of Black History Month. Black History Month. Black History Month. Man. So today's episode, I want to talk about black people in architecture, or the lack thereof. I want to discuss my journey in architecture, studying architecture, and my career in architecture as a black man, as a minority, whatever you want to call it. But first, I want to recognize somebody. Paul Revere Williams. Paul Revere Williams he was an architect based out in Los Angeles, California. He's known for, well, I won't say he's known for. I don't hear a lot of people talk about him. We'll just say when I was in high school, my last 2 years I went to a vocational high school where I studied drafting, architecture and drafting. And the only architect we'd talk about, or they throw at us, was Frank Lloyd Wright. Frank Lloyd Wright this, Frank Lloyd Wright that. He's the best. He's the greatest. He's the god of architecture. That's all I heard about. So I took initiative and I said, I want to learn about other architects, specifically black architects. I don't have anything against Frank Lloyd Wright. His work is amazing. That guy is great. That guy did do some great work. But there's a ton of other architects who've done great work. And, I just always wondered why black architects weren't mentioned. So I said, is there such thing as a black architect? I'm in this class and I'm the only black guy here. So I just started doing research, and at first I typed in, I don't even think was Google out? I feel old. I think Google was out. I don't know. I searched it, maybe Yahoo search or something. I searched, what was the word? It wasn't like top architects. It was like signature architects. And there was a laundry list of white architects. And, from all around the world, you got, Italian, Australian. It was a lot of architects that, they looked white. Like they were white. And, so I would say, okay, it's a little weird. There's no black architect. So I typed in black architects. I had to type in black architects, and I started getting some names. And I remember the first name was Paul Revere Williams. And I found a book also about his life. And I started reading this book about him. I'm like, oh man, it's so interesting. And one thing he had a quote that I loved. And he said, let me find, I have it here. He said, if I allow the fact that I am a Negro to checkmate my will to do, now I will inevitably form the habit of being defeated. Oh, I thought that was so strong, because I remember growing up, I would argue with people. Like they would say, hey, being black, man, it's hard. It's hard to do this, hard to do that. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, forget that. I'm not going to stop and not follow my dreams and my goals because it's hard on black men or black people. Now, I was cool knowing the fact that it is hard on us. And, I didn't know that, but I'm like, I don't care. Like, you can tell me that till I'm blue in the face. It's not going to stop me. it's not going to stop me, and I'm going to go. And you know, when I in school, from that vocational high school until I got my bachelor's degree in architecture, I was amongst predominantly white people, maybe one or two black people, but predominantly white people. And sometimes it got a little rough. You'll get around some people with views that were just twisted and just flat out racist. Some people were, I've met a lot of white people who were awesome. I've met way more awesome white people than I've met than meeting racist or just shitty white people. I've met a lot of great white people, like awesome people. But Paul Revere Williams, he was an architect based out in Los Angeles, California. He was born in the 1890s. He died in the 1980s. So, he was an architect back in the day. And one of the most famous buildings he worked on was the LAX theme building. So, at the LAX, it looks like a spaceship to me. It's like these curved structures that are on top and hover over one of the buildings at LAX. I'd love to go to just see LAX. If I was to ever go to LA, I just really want to see LAX, theme building is one main thing at least. Of course, to do other things. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to do out there, but seeing the LAX theme building will be important to me. And one thing I loved about him too is that he did a lot of residential design. And that's what I'm into. I'm into the residential part of architecture. I enjoy that. I'm big on the buy back the block. That's the whole reason why I got into architecture. If you hear my other episodes, I talk about it. Why I wanted to be an architect or get into architecture was simply because I was tired of seeing the vacant homes in my community, and I thought our community looked like trash, and I hated that they shut down our mall, and we would have to go 20 miles out of the way to go to another mall where it was predominantly white people, and the homes and the community was beautiful. And I didn't understand why ours could not look like that. So he did a lot of homes, like for famous people too. Like let's see, I have that written down here. Frank Sinatra, Lucille Ball, Barbara Stanwyck, Charles Correll. I mean, actors and a lot of Hollywood people. I mean, I guess it can be impressive to some people. Some people, I don't really care that who he did the homes for. I care more about that. He was into residential. I'm into the residential side of architecture. But yeah, Paul Revere Williams. He was a black architect, and back in those days, you didn't have to go to a university and study architecture per se. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it was now, or get a license to be an architect and all that. I think you had to study under someone, and people like him and even the white architects back then, they always studied under someone. They came up and they learned the craft of drafting and design and architecture, and they went off to started their own firms or did their own work and got things done, and became architects and were architects. So he was an architect, Paul Revere Williams. Yeah, I like that guy. I like his work. So check out his work. Google him. Just check out his work. Check out his designs. Check out LAX, the theme building. It lights up at night. It's pretty cool. I don't know. It reminds me of a UFO or, I don't know. Weird. But anyway, transition. I want to talk about my experiences as a black man in architecture. Stay tuned.
Hey, really quick, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my YouTube, Gates3 Designs. Um, Check out my webpage, www.gates3designs.com. And check me out on Instagram, Gates3 Designs. All right, let's get back to part 2.